All right, hello, welcome back, everybody. PayPal and Patreon are down below if you want to support me. Only do so if you actually can. So, the issue of extremely dangerously low birth rates around the world has become a publicly pressing issue as of late over the last number of years. And basically, every attempt to even remotely address this by multiple different countries has been lackluster and less than half hearted. Many of them basically a joke, such as China's solution being to just end the one child policy. The Chinese government's solution was telling people they're now allowed to have more than one child. And when that didn't work, they tried the next best step, which was telling people they're now permitted to have as many as three children. Neighboring countries, South Korea and Japan, have tried offering discounts on daycare, on child daycare, and the discounts really aren't even that great. Not even free daycare services, but just discounted. Like, here's a 20% off coupon. Over in Russia, the Russian government has tried bribery, offering mothers one-time payouts of first $1,000, or it was like 1,300. Then they upped it to 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 if they have a kid. Not some kind of stipend or anything to help with childcare expenses. Literally just like a one-time, bribe. And over to the West a little bit, Hungary has tried a backhandedly non-solution of offering the mother to be free from having to pay taxes if she has either three or four children. I forgot what the threshold was. However, the thing is, usually when a family has that many kids, the mother ends up being a stay-at-home mom and not actually working or not working all that much. So that whole thing of the mother's income, which will effectively become non-existent, being exempt from taxes is kind of a slap in the face because that means essentially nothing. And all of these measures have done basically next to nothing. So to the potential emotional detriment of some, those who are most concerned about the falling birth rates, because those who are most concerned tend to be decently far to the right politically, and that usually comes with a near religious attachment to capitalism. Inevitably, you're going to have to weigh the two things. Which do you value more? How much value do you place on avoiding population collapse? Because it hopefully has become pretty obvious the only measures that are going to reasonably do anything are things that most people would consider kind of extreme. One particular avenue that has worked in the past, not that it was done with that intention, and that is nearly free housing, or basically free housing. It was often done through what was essentially the guise or facade of being a loan, just like a mortgage that they would have to pay back. But it was really, really cheap. And in many of the cases, after a certain amount of time, they didn't actually really have to pay it anymore. And as opposed to meager one time handouts and having a little bit of extra money, having a place to live, having a stable home in which your children are guaranteed to be able to safely come back to, that angle is something that weighs a lot more on potential would-be parents. Or if you're too averse to that route and you just want to try re-lowering home and housing prices back down to, reasonable levels, since at least using the US example, while people had to buy and pay for homes through the decades leading up to the 2000s, the US still had a two children per woman birth rate through most of that time, and housing prices were reasonably within the reach of people's incomes for most of that time. And this is, by this point, a well-known artificial demand issue because countless people, individuals of higher incomes, do hold multiple and in quite a number of cases, many properties that they're not living in or using. They're just buying them for the sake of having them for the value, and in doing so, helping to artificially drive up the value. And also, over the last decade and a half or so, huge real estate companies and just general private equity companies that buy whatever, like BlackRock, for example, have been buying houses, apartments, and properties by the thousands upon thousands. So, a rather simple way to see those prices drop back down would be to are such practices from being able to happen, not allowing massive corporations to literally buy houses that are supposed to be for people, and also on the part of individual people, not, letting people own like 25 houses. If you want to try the Hungarian approach, you could try, the non pointless slap in the face method and offer that families that reach, 3 or 4 children actually will have both parents, including the dad, who in mostless cases is going to be massively the primary income earner, have both of them be exempt from taxes if they have 3 plus children or 4 plus children. Then that might actually produce a substantial effect. Or tackle the healthcare angle. If you want to keep the whole private insurance thing, you don't have to get rid of that, but you should extend, blanket coverage, essentially free healthcare services for children of all ages. you know, Not let children be turned away because payment is due up front. And some other tacked on ideas I figured could be, you know, really poke with a fire poker corporations into giving their employees higher wages, wages that would actually match the expenses of the times. And you don't have to brute force it. You could easily just incentivize it by, giving them a deal like if you raise all your employees' pay by, say 30%, then, all federal lawsuits and fines and court cases against you will be dismissed and dropped. So that's just a collection of suggestions that no one is really going to try because those would likely actually produce results, and no one's interested in actually producing results. So, anyways, thanks for sticking around and listening. That's the end for this one. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already. PayPal and Patreon are down there if you want to support me. Only do so if you actually can. There's a Google Drive link in the description to a drive with all kinds of different folders full of graphs and charts and data compilations. There's a link to my cat's YouTube channel in the top pinned comment. May God bless and protect all of you, and I will see you all around next time.